Would you like to learn about seeking validation psychology? How to stop seeking validation from others? Hey, I'm Antia, founder and creator of the Magnetize The Man Method. And look, seeking validation from others can really be so destructive for your dating and your romantic relationship life, especially when it comes to attracting a man who's supportive and who's respectful and who really looks for an equal in relationships. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So key number one to stop seeking validation from others is do a rejection challenge. Wait, what? Yes, you heard me right. Do a rejection challenge. Lean into what you resist the most. Well, wait a minute. What are you talking about, Antia? So here's how it goes. Well, actually, let me just give you a little bit of a pre-frame, because years ago, I actually participated and also ran rejection challenges. Now, the interesting phenomenon about that was what we are seeking out, we're usually not perceiving, right? So we were all seeking out rejections. So people were asking for raises. They were finally asking out the man that was supposedly out of their league, right? Like there was so much going on. I mean, we asked we went to a grocery store and asked for the most unreasonable things you can imagine. And yet, 9 out of 10 times, we actually got what we wanted. Now, why is that? Well, because we were attached to the rejection, right? Because whatever you're attached to, that's what you get. That's what you get less of, right? But so we were attached to the rejection, so we got less of the rejection. Look, one time I was even calling one of the guys I used to date, and he lived about 500 miles away from me. And I said, hey, can you come up to my rehearsal? To my gospel choir rehearsal. And then he said, are you losing again your rejection challenge? And he's like, I would totally come. I'm like, no, don't come. Okay, so that's the reverse psychology. Do a rejection challenge. Look, when you think about Sarah Blakely, oh, by the way, is the youngest female billionaire in the world. What did she grow up with? With the rejection challenge. Now, it was a little different in that her dad was always celebrating her when she was not making the team or when she didn't get the A. Why? Because the dad knew that it's really important to have a healthy relationship to rejection in order to have success in life. You have to be willing to play outside of your comfort zone to expand into the woman who's able to not only attract the right man for you, but also to keep him. Key number 2, resource yourself and self-source. Self-source, girlfriend. Now, I know I heard this years ago, and I'm like, well, I don't know exactly how to do that. Well, here's one key. So when you spend a lot of time with a man, and back then I was dating somebody who had a sailboat and we were sailing on the weekends, and oh my gosh, every woman was just licking every 10 of her fingers after an opportunity like this, right? I told myself, well, look, I have to be able to give that same amazing experience to myself as well. So I always felt cherished and amazing and free and happy around him. But yet, when I was by myself, I couldn't access that. Look, it's just about the access. So what you have to learn is what is that key that gives you the access to feel by yourself the same way how you feel with a man. All he has is a key. And so you just have to find out what is that access key for yourself to self-source. Also, what I started to do when I was dating men, I was literally noticing okay, let me just back off a little. When I got a little too attached to a man, I would actually also tell them look, I'm working on my attachment style or whatever you want to say. And I'm really, there will be moments where I feel I just need to balance back. That'll be, I may not respond right away to your text message, whatever the case may be. And I was really working on sourcing myself, and really being my own biggest cheerleader. Secret number 3 is practice empowering affirmations. Yes, that's right. And so what would be some of the affirmations that I'm talking about? Well, it could be, I have so much fun by myself. When I'm by myself, I have the best ideas. I'm so innovative. I'm so creative. I can accomplish so much by myself, and like I can source whatever I want inside of myself. I can source whoever I want to be inside of myself, right? So like you have this ongoing affirmation inside of yourself. And how cool is that? Because here's the thing, like when you have this ongoing like affirmation inside of yourself, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. At some point, the brain doesn't even know what's real and what's a story, right? And so, gosh, I have so many affirmations that I practice every day, even to this day, because you're always creating a new reality for yourself. So what are some of the empowering affirmations that you can practice that really help you to source yourself, right? Like, I'm my own rock, right? I have all the answers inside of myself. Everything is already conspiring on my behalf. So you name it, those are just a few examples of some empowering affirmations that you can practice on a day-to-day basis. Tip number 4, plug your umbilical cord into yourself. Now, what does that mean? So one thing that my husband and I talked about the other day is this idea of anchoring. Now, what normally happens when we have an anxious attachment style, we're trying to anchor, as if you have the umbilical cord back into the mommy, right? It's like, okay, who's my mommy? You know, who's gonna give me the nourishing, nutrients and thoughts and belief systems and emotions that continue to keep me happy and continue to keep me alive emotionally and spiritually and mentally, right? So there's like this sort of this other focusedness, right? I'm anchoring my umbilical cord into you. And what I'm saying is like plug your umbilical cord into yourself. Wow, just imagine that. Like I just visualized that, right? Like just you plug it back into yourself. Now, what does that mean? Well, like, wow, I become really self-sustaining, right? I can actually nourish myself, right? I can actually send some oxygen out and then get some new energy in, So there's so many different ways where in our body we're already doing that, right? So how can you give yourself a pep talk? How can you yourself be the rock in the wild sea? How can you be your own rock? I watched in one reality TV show, one woman was saying that. She was like, I am my own rock and I've always been my own rock and I will get through this, right? So it's like really like you understand like, wow, through the challenges, you really became your own rock. And I don't mean rock in that sense that you're not emotional or that you're not open, that you're not soft, that you're not feminine. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is like you're relying on yourself. You basically have that own anchor to yourself, to your own boat. And the last tip number 5 is write yourself a love letter. Look, I'm a huge fan of changing perspectives, right? So you're like, okay, well, if I was my own lover, like what would I write to myself? Gosh, you're so pretty, Susie. You're so gorgeous, Angela. You always have the smile on your face. You're so supportive. So you write a love letter to yourself, and in that actually create a positive and optimistic relationship with yourself. You're celebrating yourself. You're cherishing yourself. And that's eventually what we're really looking for, right? Okay, so you're writing yourself a love letter, and like just really imagining a lover is writing that love letter. So the better you can do that, the better it is. Why is that important? Because when you have a different perspective, it becomes more believable. When you watch really high level Hollywood movies, you'll see there's so many different camera angles. Now, why is that? Because those camera angles, they give you different what? Perspectives. So how many more perspectives can you create for yourself? That's the question. Like you could have like your perspective, your lover's perspective, and you could even have a narrator perspective. How cool is that? What would the narrator say, right? If they would write something for yourself. Okay, so what they say, once upon a time, Joe met Melanie, right? And this happened here and this happened there. And so, and out of the sudden, you're like, wow, this really all comes together. This is a beautiful storyline. And you actually get to see yourself more as a third person and looking actually how the story unravels versus like identifying yourself all the time with every step that you're taking, and you're becoming attached to it all the time and driving the anxiety through the roof. All right, so those are the 5 tips on seeking validation psychology, how to stop seeking validation from others. So again, number 1, do the rejection challenge. Number 2, resource yourself. Number 3, practice empowerment affirmations. Number 4, plug your own umbilical cord back into yourself. And number 5 is write yourself a love letter. Well, look, if you're like, gosh, Antia, those are really good tips, and it's a little hard for me to integrate this information on a day-to-day basis. I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to resource myself. I don't even know what that feels like because there's not even a boundary. If you have any of those challenges of rejection challenge, what are you talking about, right? And if you're really struggling with this, I invite you to come on a Magnetize Your Man heart-to-heart chat with me, where we get crystal clear on what it is for you that you want to attract into your life, and what is that internal dialogue that literally keeps you from that. So for that, hop on over to magnetizeyourman.com and also click that link below and grab your slot as long as they last. Much love to you, ladies. I'll talk to you very soon.